So, very good afternoon to all the panelists and participants. This is the fourth episode of ThinkAg Agri FinTech series. For those who are not familiar with ThinkAg, we are a platform for supporting adoption of innovation in agricultural sector. We are almost 2 years old now, and we have been doing multiple events essentially to drive multi-stakeholder engagement between the industry, the startups, and the financial institutions and the policymakers, so that the whole innovation agenda in the sector can be pushed up. We did 3 episodes earlier, two in partnership with Cropin and one in partnership with the Dwara Registry on Agri FinTech. And the topics that we have covered were on digital tools for agri lending. That was the topic for two such episodes, and one episode was focused on use of digital tools for crop insurance. And we are also delighted to inform that one development which has happened in last couple of weeks. ThinkAg has been talking to SBI, State Bank of India, for over a year on how to get engaged with agri-tech and agri-fintech startups to build innovative financing models and tools for farmer financing. And finally, SBI has announced a request for proposal. It was uploaded on the website last week. Abhijit also shared a link on LinkedIn. For those who are interested, they can reach out to Abhijit. So I think this is a great opportunity for some of the startups who are on the call to figure out a way to work with SBI. And we'll strongly recommend and encourage you to please look at the RFP. And if you qualify, please explore applying for it. We are also very keen to develop these kind of partnership models with other banks and insurance companies. So we are happy to explore. I think working with SBI for a year has been a great experience, and we can definitely use those learnings to expedite this process for other banks and insurance companies who are willing to engage with these startups in this sector. Coming to today's episode, we specifically targeted this on dairy. And we all know how important is this sector. It's almost $150 billion sector. And as we know that it is also one of the major source of farmer livelihood. Of course, crop continue to be the key source of income, but a significant part of farm income is coming from livestock, and dairy is definitely one of the key sources for such farmer incomes. So what we want to be focused today in our discussions is essentially look at ways where technology can be used or innovative business models can be used to build financing models for financing of cattle, for financing of asset creation, which is required in the dairy supply chain, and also models for cattle insurance. I think these are some of the topics that we want to cover. And we are very thankful to our partners, Dwara e-Registry, who has guided us through this while we were developing the concept of this the workshop. I think they've been very helpful in conceptualizing it and also getting panelists on board who are experts in this topic to talk about it. So with that, I'll briefly start with an introduction of the panelists for today's webinar. Ms. Varsha Joshi from Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying was supposed to join, but we got a message about half an hour back that she's been called by the minister. So we are hoping that she joins during the session. So we will wait for her to join, but nonetheless, we'll start our proceedings. Let me just start with a brief introduction of all the key panelists. We have Ravi K, who's the director at Dwara e-Registry Solution. He has a vast experience across agribusiness and rural finance and extensive exposure across the entire product life cycle, including product development, rural sales, and marketing. He holds a bachelor degree in agriculture from TNAU, Coimbatore, and a master's degree in management from the prestigious Asian Institute of Management, Manila. He'll be making a presentation shortly. Other panelists for the day include Pramod Prasad. He is the Chief Operating Officer at Creamline Dairy, which is part of Godrej Agrovet. He has over 14 years of experience. He's a BE from NIT Karnataka and a management graduate from Indian Institute of Management, Lucknow. Prior to Godrej Agrovet, he has worked in Accenture Management Consulting and Algamin Industries. We also have Mr. Prabhakaran S. He's the head of risk at Agri and Agri and Supply Chain at RBL Bank. Prabhakaran has been part of other Agri FinTech episodes also, so we really thank him for his continuous support. He has over 19 years of experience. He's a BSc Agri from TNAU and MBA. Prior to RBL, he has worked with HDFC Bank, ICICI Bank, and Vocard. Then we have Venkatesh N. He's the Managing Director for Samasta Microfinance, which is a IFL Group company. Venkatesh is the founder and MD of Samasta Microfinance Limited. He has over 20 years of experience in financial services industry as an entrepreneur. And Venkatesh was also the founder of erstwhile PNV Technos Acquisitions Private Limited. Venkatesh holds a bachelor degree in computer science, and he's completed the Harvard Business School Axiom program on strategic leadership in microfinance. Then we have Mr. Manish Mishra. He's head of government and rural business at ICICI Lombard. Manish is an alumnus of IIT BHU and IIM Bangalore and has over 25 years of experience in banking and financial services industry. He has been part of ICICI Group for over 20 years, and prior to joining ICICI Lombard in 2014, he headed various businesses across NRI and remittances, treasury cells, and mid-corporate group at ICICI Bank. Then we have Mr. Gopinath Karat. He is Executive Vice President at IFCO Tokyo. He has more than 32 years of experience in general insurance industry. With experience in rural and micro insurance underwriting and distribution, he has successfully introduced RFID technology for cattle identification in 2010. Currently heading crop and government business at IFCO Tokyo. Last but not the least, we have Ms. B. Sivarani. She's the CEO of an FPO called Veerapathi Kalanja Jividham Producer Company Limited. I hope I have pronounced it properly. She's also the chairman of ACE Foundation. She's an agricultural graduate from TNAU and earlier worked with Pradhan and Dhan Foundation. So we welcome all the panelists. I think we've got very good diversity. We have representation from the industry, from the banking industry, from the insurance industry, and also from an FPO. So I think that's great. So with that, I'll request Ravi to make a presentation. Ravi, over to you.
Yep. Thank you, Hemendra. Good afternoon to you all, and thanks to ThinkAg for giving us this opportunity to present ourselves in this panel. Abhijit, can you please enable screen sharing? Abhijit, can you please enable? Yeah, thanks. Yeah. So I'll take less than around approximately 10 minutes. Digital revolution in India has been driving significant change in getting the underserved to the served, and also bringing in transformation in various industries. I would like to walk you through on some of these digital revolutions and how these digital revolutions can potentially have significant impact in the dairy economy. One such digital revolution is certainly the Aadhaar. Aadhaar has created the digital unique identity and a verifiable identity for all the Indian citizens. Through Aadhaar, millions of Indians have got benefited to get access to various services and government programs. What if such a unique, verifiable digital identity is available for cattle? We all know that the muzzle identity, which is the pattern in between the two nostrils, is unique to cattle, both cattle and buffaloes. And this can potentially bring in a significant transformation in the dairy industry. Muzzle identity is not something new. In the year 1930s, muzzle identity was used to identify cattle where they were using all the traditional methods. With the advent of vision computing and the new age technologies, Dwara E-Dairy Solutions has developed a solution to digitize the muzzle identity. This has multiple use cases in different industries and the sectors. However, a few use case examples can be cattle insurance, cattle loan, and traceability, etc. I would like to walk you through on another example. In the recent past, we have been using the digital thermometer to a greater extent. It has helped in various ways to know the health, to know the temperature, or to know the health status of a human, of us, which is accurate, and it is completely contactless, and it is do it yourself, and also gave us an indication when to go to a doctor. What if such a contactless instant solution is available for small and medium dairy farmers to know the health status of the cattle? It would bring immense benefit for them to manage the herd scientifically. Dwara E-Dairy Solution has launched Dwara Surabhi Index, which is a do-it-yourself for the farmers. This solution is available in the Play Store, where they can download and they can follow the instructions and use it by themselves. There are hundreds of farmers who have been using this solution, and it provides cattle-specific health status as an indicator. The farmer is able to monitor the health status of the cattle digitally, and it is completely based on veterinary science and practices. I am very glad to tell you that we have been receiving testimonials. We have been receiving, in the sense that the farmer responses on using this solution. One such specific instance which I can tell you is a farmer in Andhra Pradesh. He has been using this particular solution for a specific problem continuously for 3 days. He used it for 3 days continuously. And at the end of the 3 days, what the indications that we had given actually happened. Then he contacted us and said that, sir, it gave us lots of, in the sense that the accuracy in terms of the health status of the cattle. So this solution can be used in various ways. To mention a few, it can be used in anti-selection in the insurance companies, underwriting, and also for cattle purchase and selling. Here we also have a provision for the farmer to reach out to us digitally, and where we help the farmer to provide cattle specific, in the sense that the indications and also a further information on those indications. Another such example I would like to walk you through is the soil health card. Approximately 12 crore health cards have been given in India, where farmers are able to know the nutrient status of the soil at a land parcel level. When they know this, they are able to digitally track, maintain the soil, and also follow recommendations, which is very specific to that land parcel, and it helps them to improve the productivity of soil. What if such a solution is available for the small and medium dairy farmers to track the health status of the cattle? Dwara E-Dairy Solutions, we have launched Surabhi Score. Surabhi Score is a comprehensive score which helps the dairy farmers to know the health status of the cattle in a scientific manner. In this, to arrive at this score, what we do is we collect cattle-specific information and images by leveraging technology and incorporating advanced veterinary science and practices. We are providing customized recommendations to the farmer. We help them in solving breeding issues, feed and fodder management, and gentle management, including preventive and primary care. There are multiple in the sense that we have received many positive feedbacks from the farmers and also from the farmer producers organizations, where farmers were able to increase the milk yield. They were able to reduce their expenses or optimize their expenses. Number three is they were able to address some of the or prevent the treatment, the expenses towards treatments. Just to mention, I will give you an example. If there is an increase of 1 liter per day in a lactation cycle of 300 days, the farmer would earn an additional income of 7,500 rupees, which is certainly a significant value addition for the rural household. There are 7 crore such households in India, rural households in India, whose primary source of income is from dairy, and certainly this would help them to achieve their household goals. In these recommendations, we provide very specific scores to give them on a difference between an ideal score and the present values, so that the farmer is able to know where exactly the cattle there is a gap in the health status of the cattle. Given all this, we all know that a happy farmer and a healthy cow can bring in a significant change in the dairy economy. So for the cattle to be healthy and for the farmer to be happy, Dwara eDairy Solutions has come out with a layer where it can connect to various players in the dairy economy, be it feed manufacturers, dairy companies or lending institutions and other players, through collaboration, and also providing the solutions to the small and medium dairy farmers. The overall dairy economy would get benefited, keeping the farmers' benefit in the center. Just to give you an example of the retail potential, based on the TRAI report, if you take, there are around 32 crores of rural internet subscribers. Just to give you, on a conservative side, if 10% of these farmers are digital farmers and they use these solutions like do-it-yourself solutions where the farmer himself can follow or use these solutions, the cattle insurance market can be around 1,000 crore only through the DIY, and the cattle loan can be around 16,000 crores, and the digital cattle management solutions can be around 6,400 crores. What I would like to highlight here, this excludes the existing traditional channel. For example, as per one of the reports from NABARD, it states that the lending potential to dairy sector is around 72,000 crores, and insurance is around 750 crores. Given all this, the digitized cattle for digital India, we strongly believe would bring in a transformation in the digital in the dairy industry, and it would be a great opportunity for us to participate and contribute to the growing dairy sector in India. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ravi. Very interesting, I must say. The Surbhi score is a great concept, and I'm sure it can be used not just by the industry, but cattle traders, banks, financial institutions, insurance companies. Clearly, I think digitization of the cattle and the dairy supply chain could I would say, unleash the second white revolution. I see that it can bring in a lot of efficiency, transparency, traceability in the supply chain, which is much needed by the consumers and the supply chain members. Thanks very much, Ravi, for this presentation, and keep up the good work at Dwara eDairy. I'm sure we'll stay engaged, and we'll hear more from you in terms of how this Surbhi score is developing, and how many subscribers are there who can use this for their relevant application and use cases. So with that, we can move to now to the panel discussion. We have all the panelists now. Welcome, Pramod. I think we didn't see you earlier. Thanks for joining us. So maybe I can start with you, Pramod, if that's okay. So the specific question that I have for you, Pramod, is what are the areas in the dairy value chain that you see are ready for absorption of digital tools? And what is the potential for some of these agri-tech startups who are developing this digital solution to partner with a organized dairy player like Creamline and other dairy companies in the sector?
Right. Hi, Avindra. Glad to connect with you again, and thank you for including me in this panel. See, the opportunity is pretty huge. Let me say at the very outset. Now, what has happened, if you look at in rural areas, one, because of the internet penetration, the information asymmetry is gone, right? So people are now able to access, YouTube videos and understand how to be a good dairy farmer, right? Now they're able to, this information is now getting there. Now, what happens is that now if you look at, and here you should not look at everyone, right? Because there are farmers many farmers use dairy as a secondary source of income, primarily one to have a source at home and then probably to distribute. Of that, there's a percentage of farmers who are fairly more serious in dairy than the rest. And I think this is where the digital adoption, this is where the thinking about how do I increase my yield, how do I make more profitability, so how do I add more cows to my this thing, correct? And I think that's where the thinking is there. And I think those are a set of farmers where they're willing to pay better for good cows and they're willing to invest there. And I think that's where this fintech especially can play a major role in terms of their ability to look beyond the normal set of data which the regular banks look at and then decide credit worthiness of that person, because that's an extremely underserved market today in terms of farmers are willing to invest a good part of the capital themselves. They want some quick loans to be given, and and because these are very short term loans, EMIs are also fairly palatable because they're anyway upfronting a large part of the capital themselves. And hence, if he's a serious farmer, he already has a tie-up with an established dairy, be it a cooperative or a private player, and hence that that whole cash flow thing is also fairly established. So this is a section of farmer where be it if you are a lender, be it if you are an insurer, these two they are ready. They can easily find them. Fintech probably can help assess the risk and mitigate that risk, and in a much better, because they can bring in information from multiple levers. There's information available in your regular credit systems. There's information available with the milk aggregator rather. There is an information available through what some of those apps that Ravi just showed, right? So there are some information. So I think someone can actually bring in together some of these things and then start building it. There's a large amount of appetite for farmers, and it's like a farmer who has a herd of 5 to 6 cows, him wanting to add 1 or 2 every year, you readily know it's about $1 lakh to $1.5 lakh every year of loaning that you can actually do, and you can obviously insure as you go along. And that's the kind of, and slowly you will see that happening because people will get more serious about dairy, more about having slightly larger farms than they were having before. And I think those set of farmers are well knowledgeable, and they will adopt quickly into this. So I'm very, very optimistic that this pie is growing, and their appetite for these financial products will only increase.
Thanks, Pramod. That's a very optimistic note, and I totally agree with you. I think to go to villages, talk to any women farmer in particular, I think her biggest aspiration is to own a kettle, and they are willing to go extra yard to make that happen. So I really see a huge untapped opportunity for bankers to cater to that need. And with that, I'll move to Prabhakar, and who can probably give a banker's perspective, in terms of what are the challenges for the bankers to lend to the dairy value chain, especially cattle loans. What are the challenges that you have encountered? And if you've used any digital tools or applications, like what Ravi shared, or from any of the startup, I think it'll be good to hear your experience in terms of its adaptability and scalability.
Yeah, thanks. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for again connecting with me in a ThinkAct Farm platform. So when it comes to dairy and say agri allied as a segment for bankers, which is a larger space because the core agri many times doesn't give the required cash flows day and day to the farmers. So in that scenario, which is the next avenue, which is a daily basis. If the farmer has 2 cattle or buffaloes, the one would be yielding, the other one may be at pregnant stage, so it will start yielding. So they will have some daily cash flows, which will take care of their routine expenditure. So and yes, if people can use some kind of technology, their profitability can definitely go up. So in that angle, definitely dairy plays a larger role. And bankers also seriously wanted to look at if there is a data connectivity, if we can get a better data from the sources, because today the major challenges with the banking system which goes through is, one is like the milk pouring data, because today a lot of things still it is manually written. So maybe few of them have moved to a digital platform. So that manual data is sometimes it is fabricated, which we have just seen in some cases when we do some kind of ground level analytics. And so when a cattle is purchased from one location, so maybe one climatic zone to it moves to a new zone, what happens? The yield may drastically vary. So we would have predicted our repayment based on the existing zone. So how it will perform? So that we, as a banker, I am not an expert in that. Third one is a farmer. Say I've given a loan. After giving a loan, maybe say he had existing 2 cattle, but I've given an additional loan for say buying 1 or 2. So if he migrated from a, suppose he is dealing with a cooperative or a private dairy, if he is migrated from A to B, then my cash flow gets dried up. So maybe there's a diversion risk. I come to know later, then I go and patch in, and there are a lot of collection issues for me. That is a third thing. Suddenly, in many cases, what happens, the farmers also goes through challenges in cattle. One, because maybe an AI failure, because of that he has to sell the cattle, or the cattle is died because of disease, or the farmer is also like he got a good price, he sold the cattle. So I don't come to know. Sometimes what happens at the time of starting, the farmer's milk income is higher, but after when you go through a period of like 2-3 months down the line, we see farmer's milk income has come down drastically. When we go and see, maybe the one of the cattle has died, or one cattle is sold it, which we may not know. So I will not be able to monitor these farmers at a regular intervals, unless otherwise I have a data connectivity, like where he's pouring a milk. If I get at least monthly data, I just connect it. Okay, if there is a 2 cow is pouring milk, okay, there can be a cycle, so it can gradually come down. But if it suddenly reduces to 50%, so I come to know, okay, there is some issue. So that is one problem. And the other thing is this tagging of animals. Suppose if a farmer feels like one animal is AI failure, so if he wants to sell and buy it, then again there is an issue of retagging. Like again I need to insure that vehicle as a the cattle as a new cattle, and there is an additional premium, that is an additional charge. A lot of farmers doesn't do that, and they don't tell us also. And when the death happens, the insurance claim sometimes doesn't come on time, so that puts farmers in distress. So we see a stress there. So this is and the one bigger thing is, like today, say wherever there is a cooperative or a private collection center, private dairies collection center is there, we have an organized that is still there in few states. For example, Gujarat, southern states has larger penetration. If I go to UP and eastern side, the unorganized is 90%, the organized is less. So in that case, in those market, what is the data to predict for us? Data available for us to assess it. So because there's an unorganized sale, the local sale, the vendor sale is a large extent. So these are all the problems which we foresee. But we are sure and we are confident, because this industry is expected to grow. And we also wanted to work with fintech players who can at least give some kind of data sharing, or they just connect with these dots. If it is going to be a win-win situation, definitely banks are willing to do it. So in the yeah, Pramod.
So Prabhakar, I mean, once you finish, I would like to give a quick response, if that is okay.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so I think in the past it used to be like a 2+2, 1+1, 3+3 kind of setup, but I think that is not working out when it comes to any distress. No, it doesn't work out. So I because when the animal is not there, because these are all unsecured loan for the banks, because when I give a 1.5 lakhs loan, I can't do a security, and sometimes I might be only a lender for dairy alone. I may not lend it for other purposes. So my loan becomes non-performing, then collection issues are become very bigger. Yeah, I think that's with me, done with me. So maybe Pramod, you can.
Go ahead,
So Pramod,
Pramod.
yeah. So one quick response there, right? So in the sense that if you look at, there are many dairies which actually monitor, have this, proper data, right? So if you look at the universe of those farmers, right, to start with, and then say that, which farmer has been regularly pouring milk for the last 18 months, right? Unlikely that farmer is going to, run away, or, he's more or less going to be an authentic farmer to do it. The second, if you were to just take a step back and include even the milk aggregators into the system, because the milk aggregator data is a lot more stabilized, because even Amul will have, all the societies will have in terms of, this thing. And if they can become the conduit for a loan, of course, what happens is there'll be some slippages in the sense that some part will go for dairy, some part will go for something else. But what happens is that the collection is at least more or less, guaranteed. Right? So the slippages there are a little bit much lesser, because the agent has a relationship with the dairy for a long period of time. It's a source of income. He'll generally not shut shop and run away. It might happen, but I think the risk kind of gets mitigated in doing that. And even if our initial filter is going to be only bank with or lend to people where there is proper data, that alone is a fairly large subset to start with.
Yeah, you're right.
Thanks, Pramod. This is useful, and thanks, Prabhakaran. I think clearly you laid down the problem statements very clearly, and I think it's up to all of us. How do we build those digital tools to capture this data? And as Pramod is saying, there's probably enough to get started. I'm sure those farmers who don't keep the data probably are incentivized to share the data once they see loans are given on the basis of data. So I think that's great. I think with that, I'll move to Venkatesh to get his view in terms of what are the risks the lending institutions see while lending to the dairy farmer, especially for cattle loans. And how do we improve the penetration of cattle loans? Of course, Pramod and Prabhakaran have shared their views, but I'll request Venkatesh to come in and please share your views.
Thanks, Hemendra, to invite me onto this panel. Just to add on to Prabhakar and Pramod, see, in terms of how we have approached it, I'll just give you a brief thing. I mean, for us graduating from a microfinance institution, and one of the key things which we wanted to address was to end use, actually. I mean, we have been giving microfinance for various kind of income generation activities, but we wanted the end use to be clearly registered. So we found the dairy cattle to be one of the key drivers in this, and where end use could be easily monitored. So, I mean, we also ensure that each and every cattle of ours are getting insured, so that, I mean, even at any eventuality, farmer doesn't get into insurances are provided by the cooperatives in certain geographies, but we ensure we tie up with someone who really addresses this problem and who will be able to be along with the customer during the time of distress. And the other point which we saw was, though Pramod added, but in a couple of cases where we've seen is the price for the milk which the farmers are getting are quite varying in certain geographies. I'm not talking about most geographies, but if I talk about Tamil Nadu per se, we find a lot of disconnect in and too much of private players cutting corners and trying to work around with it. So choosing of the geographies is one of the key elements in thing. And we started working with farmers, with very small farmers who had already had even as low as one cattle. We wanted to upgrade them with starting off with one more cattle, and then we moved on. So, I mean, the basic risks which we saw was only the catchment area. Catchment area, if we have a good procurement, I mean, if you look at Karnataka per se, we have a very good, strong procurement from the Karnataka Milk Federation. So, I mean, these are the things which we need to take note of. And parallelly, we try to cover up the loan in terms of we ensure the insurance has been done. So not only LUC has been taken care from our side, and we are ensuring that the cattle is tagged by the insurance company. There's another proof where the loan utilization has been done. And I mean, if you look at a digital solution which can come on and add on to this, will also help us in terms of monitoring the loan. And we are very keen to work with the same customer over a long period of time. I mean, suppose if we are able to lend to one cattle over a period of time, we definitely want to add on more cattle to the same farmer and grow along with them. So that's the initial comments I want to add on. I'll take up the as we get on.
Thanks, Venkatesh. I think this is very useful. I think thanks for bringing in this element of price volatility. I think for sure it's a factor, and I think some part of it can be predicted given the fact that some of it is related to availability, which in turn is dependent on the season. But yeah, despite that, you see some price shocks here and there, and which could be an area of concern for bankers and lending institution. And you also mentioned the need for insurance. So I think, and we have two panelists who represent the insurance industry. So probably I'll go to them. Manish, first to you. First of all, for you, how important is this segment of cattle insurance? And yes, if it is important, how do you see the penetration of cattle insurance going up? Are there digital tools in the market, or have you tried some of them, or do you see that digitization can really drive access of insurance to cattle farmers?
Yeah. So thanks, Hemendra, and thanks to ThinkAg for inviting me to this forum. Yes, cattle insurance is an important segment for us when we look at the rural markets. As has been pointed out, it's not as large as crop insurance, obviously, but it is a growing segment. It is something that we've been focusing on. Yes, I think it's very, very underpenetrated right now. Our estimates is maybe not even 3 to 4% of cattle in India are insured. There are multiple reasons for the underinsurance. The biggest point is there is lack of awareness amongst farmers themselves, right? A lot of people still think of insurance as an investment and, on which you need to get returns. I think that education must be done. That's the first thing that needs to be addressed. The penetration is much higher when there is lending. And in our experience also, we also prefer this loany segment in this because we've gone retail, but in many cases there are malpractices, there are other factors which make it kind of a loss-making proposition. So to answer your question, it's a very important segment. It's got vast potential. It needs a lot of work, and digitization is really the way to go to scale up and to improve both the sourcing and the ongoing monitoring. I think that is the important part. You have to understand that the ticket sizes here are pretty low, right? And to reach out to the back of beyond places, sending paravets, tagging, and we use RFID tags. We don't even use ear tags. It's a fairly costly proposition. So I think those are some of the things that are holding back penetration. But in our experience, we believe that technology will, of course, play a very, very important role, like I said, on the entire value chain, both at the time of onboarding, lower cost. I think Ravi talked about the Surabhi ID or the muzzle tagging. That's a pilot that we are also undertaking. And that is something which can significantly improve the scalability and reduce the cost of onboarding. And using technology, like I said, to prevent adverse selection through body score index, again, something which Ravi also talked about. And ongoing basis, if there are wearables, if there are IoTs, which can be used to track the health of the animal, as well as partnership with dairies to understand what kind of milk production is happening, so that you can proactively monitor the health of the cattle and reduce the instance of mortality. So yes, I think it's a very important area. There is a lot of scope for improving penetration and huge scope for adopting digital tools and technologies for this.
Thanks, Manish. Clearly, I think it's a very important point that you made in terms of onboarding and risk monitoring, risk assessment, and management. I think, like we have seen in lending, agri lending also, it's a combination of physical and digital solution. Even for lending purpose, we see onboarding continue to be driven by more physical sort of solutions. There are organizations on the ground who do it. It could be an FPO, it could be some local NGOs who can play a part in this. It could be cooperatives in case of dairy. And there are some specialized startups also now. For example, there's a startup in Rajasthan called Frontier Markets who work with women entrepreneurs called Sahelis. And I think they have pretty good access. In Andhra and Telangana, there's a startup called HESA, which is army of entrepreneurs. I think more than 5,000. The number keeps changing. Who have pretty good access to the rural community. So maybe I think that could be probably one way to look at the challenge of solving onboarding problems. And I'm sure then Ravi can come in terms of how do you build scoring models which can hopefully provide some digital tools for insurance. So that's great. I think with that I'll probably move to Gopinath. Gopinath, you also have tons of experience in this space and would love to get your views on cattle insurance. Again, how do we challenges that you see in cattle insurance and how do we improve the penetration of some of the cattle insurance products which are there in the market?
Thank you, Hemendra, and good afternoon, good evening to everybody. So, so the key challenges are basically, the main challenge comes from the small ticket size itself. The premiums are so small that the cost itself is very high, transaction cost. So the identification, the cost of tax, as Manish said, is very high if you are using RFID. So you actually have to see whether the cost of fraud is bigger or the cost of the tag is higher. So you need to segmentize. What we normally do is in certain areas we use PU tags and in certain areas we use RFID tags. So there is some amount of segmentation. And as far as we are concerned, where credit linked, wherever the insurance are credit linked, the pain areas are less because a lot of pain is taken over by the banks themselves, in the sense, the valuation part of it, the health part of it. So we assume that, a cattle which has been given loan is good and we just, insure it as such. But in case of milk unions, we really are struggling in the sense, one, the tagging is a major issue. Because sometimes what happens is the tag does not actually, the tagging does not get done. It is with in the hands of the farmer itself. Assuming he has 4 animals, what happens is the first animal which dies, he will tag it and then the claim is given. So these kind of issues, of course, over a period of time, this is going down, especially after WhatsApp has come. This has gone down quite a bit because WhatsApp photos keep on coming and the agent sends the photos on WhatsApp. So to that extent, digitalization, has helped. But then another problem is adverse selection. So because of, the rates are higher than because of the small size. So because we need to incorporate the cost also. So the rates are pretty high, compared to other insurances. So what happens is, there is adverse selection. So adverse selection in the sense, only the sick animal or animal which are old are insured. So there is a tendency towards that. The healthy animals, people prefer that, they think that there's nothing going to happen to those animals. So they don't. So what happens is the mortality rate, if you see the actual mortality rate and the insurance company's mortality rate, it differs large. There is a vast difference. So these are, some major, challenges we face while, insuring the cattle.
I think one follow-on question I have, I think this has been reported that, that sometimes difficult to identify the cattle, so Are there any tools? I've heard facial recognition as one potential tool which can solve for it. Do you have any experience with any of these tools which can help you identify the cattle which is being insured and where the
Yeah.
claim has been made?
Yeah, we are piloting with muzzle, but
Hmm.
surprisingly, then it can be tested against claims only when the animals die. So the
Right.
number of deaths are pretty low. So as of now, I won't be able to commit that. But in case of RFID, it has been a big success because for RFID, the biggest success is actually you have to go and implant the chip. Okay, in case of PU tags, you really don't know whether it is being tagged. So
What does PU stands for?
Polyurethane tags.
Polyurethane. Okay.
So those yellow tags.
Okay.
So yeah, so those tags, it is being distributed, and then you rely on a vendor that he goes and tags it, and he also invariably gives it to somebody and says, send a WhatsApp picture. Then that guy actually whether it can just be stuck and a photo can be taken. So it can be easily manipulated.
Okay.
So those are
Really, I think technology has to evolve. I think if RFID is a solution, we need to bring the cost down. I think that's very clear. That's great. Thanks, Gopinath, for some wonderful observations and points. With that, I'll move to Ms. Sivarani, who's with us today. And my question to her is, given your experience with so many social organizations and FPOs, do you see that there is a potential to build dairy-focused FPOs, which is conventionally been dominated by cooperatives? Do you see a merit in that kind of an approach? Or other way to look at it, should the crop-focused FPOs, should they be focusing more on dairy in terms of milk collections and storage and chilling and value addition? So I think it'll be good to get your thought on these points.
Good afternoon, sir. Are you hearing? Sir,
Yeah.
are you hearing?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Sir, I am Sivarani. I am having the experience of working in FPO for last 2 years. Here we are having 2,200 women farmers. So 60% of the farmers, they are having cattle. So now Prabhakaran sir and Gopinath sir and Pramod sir shared about the lending and the insurance. I have the real experience in our case. Dairy farmers are facing 4 type of problems. Not only lending, not only the insurance. They are facing purchase of animal, because nowadays jersey animals, many people they are purchasing. So adoption of that animal itself is problem for some of the dairy farmers. So making awareness of the dairy cattle itself is very much needed nowadays. And the second one is fodder. Nowadays the green fodder and dried fodder is off season. Some of the off season they are facing a lot of problem. So in that case, what is the FPO role or a farmer producer company role is alternate method of giving fodder, like silage making with the sorghum and maize, then making continuous availability to the dairy farmers. Then only the problem will be solved. Like that, our experience shows in Salem district. And the third one is insurance. The insurance part, like Ravi sir explained about the Dwara E-Dairy, we are having some experience with that company for last couple of months. So very much our farmer, nearly 200 dairy farmers, they are working with the Dwara E-Dairy mobile solution. So like that mobile app, the insurance also we can digitalize, because Gopinath sir told tag and other things are problem. So we have also faced a lot of problem for last 10 years about tagging the colorful tags in the animal ears. But if you go for digitalizing the like Dwara mobile application, nobody can change that figure or mobile photos. So we can go for that way, the insurance. The insurance also, compared to life insurance, nowadays the Prime Minister PM JJBY and SBY for our life, only small amount is we are paying the premium. But if you take the livestock, we are paying more. For 10,000, 2% means 200 rupees. But 10,000 we could not be able to purchase the animal. it will take 40,000 to 50,000. So obviously farmers, dairy farmers, they have to spend a lot of money. So 2% means we have to spend 1,000 rupees. But if insurance companies not to take seriously, sir, or sorry for saying this, because 4% to 5% they are asking. So many farmers, they are not at all interested to go for livestock insurance. Life insurance also, we are giving lot of awareness program continuously to our members. But livestock, we have to give more than life insurance. So for this insurance company also, sir told the transaction cost is very high. I think that is also correct also. But we have to think alternative way. So it will go use of FPOs or use of good number of people institutions to go for the reduce the cost of transaction cost. And the third one is timely credit. Bankers, Indian Bank or a lot of banks, they are working. Nowadays, people are needed for cash credit facility, not for the term loan. So even though many problems we are facing collateral, or this is not this is a small loan, how to we give the collateral, ask the collateral, like that bankers are thinking. But the farmers not only need the loan for livestock, small thing they are needed. So for this only they are selling the cow suddenly. So if you give the cash credit for 1 lakh or 50,000, so it will be very, very useful for this farmers. So we have to think like that way also. And sir asking the milk production. Nowadays, many dairy farmers, they are always depending upon the institution. Maybe one way in the government or another way in private. In Salem, you take Arogya and Avin, they are working closely with the farmers. So if sometime the milk production will be heavy, or during this COVID lockdown period, we have to think for like vendor mission. In the foreign, they are having in our country also, they are having the coin change machine. So like that milk vendor mission, if you go for some multi-store places, then it will be easy for farmers to give the regular supply to the market. This is some of the things we have observed during our field visit, or we are closely working with the dairy farmers. So many people, they are expressing like that way, sir. So we have to think and act upon.
Thank you, Mr. Rani. This is very useful. I think giving a grounds up view. I think the challenges that you talked about in terms of access to fodder, good breeds, access to markets and dairy companies. I think these are very relevant, and they clearly impact lenders' ability to lend and insurance companies to give insurance. And the cost of insurance, I think that's also a very valid point. I'm assuming as the penetration improves, as more digitization happens, the ability of insurance companies to underwrite will improve. Hopefully that can bring down the cost of insurance, which you are right, probably is higher for many cattle farmers. So thanks very much for your views, and we'll come back to you. With that, probably I can go back to Pramod one more time. Pramod, you said that there's a section of dairy farmers for whom like dairy income is becoming more of a primary income, and they probably are willing to invest more in cattle, and probably more open to new age solutions. So can you give some profile of these kind of farmers? Are they sort of mid-sized farmers, large farmers, the farmers who own cattle farms, or these farmers are concentrated in certain geographies? So if I'm a banker, how should I go looking out for these kind of farmers who are probably more creditworthy?
Right. I think the starting point would be that most of these farmers would be associated with some company or the other. Okay. So that is one profile, right? So then it's easier because those companies have the data. So you don't have to go look village by village for those farmers, but you already, there's already a conduit for that. Second is that a quick in and around all your major cities, okay, you will find a lot of these farms. They might not necessarily be associated with the private company, because some of these guys actually sell directly to the open market, where there is still a section of the population which wants raw milk. Just like that, they could go to Horeca, etc. But these are the typical farms would be in and very close to the city, right? So you go to any major city on the very outskirts, you will have this, because immediately in the morning it gets into the city. So those are the ones who actually slip. They don't actually necessarily give it to a private company, because they think that they can make more by giving outside, and they'll have a slightly larger farms, right? So these are the I mean, two, good ways of actually going there. Manish, I think mentioned about transaction costs, etc. Right? So I think we also have to take a step back and say that, why all of these things are adding up. I completely agree with, Sivrani, that a 4% is a very steep cost, and and she said about 50,000, but a good cattle actually counts for about 70-80,000, right? You need something which gives you about 10, 12, 13 to 15 liters, which any serious farmer would take, right? So moment he's buying about 80,000 cattle, a 4% insurance is 3,200, right? So we'll have to figure out in terms of how do we bring down the transaction cost, right? Because at the end of the day, in the long term, for it to be sustainable in the long term, everybody has to make money. Otherwise, nobody is going to make in a charity. Now, the part is that the company has done a bit of due diligence in understanding that farmer. There is a lender who's done about some amount of due diligence, and then if you ride on these two, right, you have zero transaction costs, correct? Because they're doing the work for you. You just have to, obviously, you have to look at the analytics and then say, boss, whether it's working for me or not, etc. But then you quickly reduce the transaction cost. And let me just give you a quick, because some of these cattle loans, which are 50,000 loans, are a 6 month to a year loan. Okay, they are not like multi-year loan. And I'll give you, if you take a 50,000 rupee loan on a 6 month, a 1% incremental cost in interest is 50 rupees a month. Okay, nobody is going to notice this. Okay, so if you think there's a 2% of risk of default, you add 2 rupees, 100 rupees extra a month, which is anyway getting deducted in his milk payment. I think it is palatable to most. Obviously, I would talk to the farmers, etc., and be very transparent about these things. Because, and I think this is because these are short-term loans, the interest impact is not too high. Yes, if I take a 20-year home loan, every 0.5% means too many lakhs, etc. But when it's a 6 month loan, 1 year loan, it is 50 rupees to 100 rupee a month kind of an impact. So whatever is your analytical, this is the percentage of default. And I don't think it will be more than that. You can actually bake that into your pricing, right? And I always believe dairy is one which gives you cash flow every 10 days. So your repayment is also not monthly. It is every 10 days. You get, nobody pays EMI 3 times a month. There is no other sector which happens that way. Correct? So, and if you're doing that, every month, who missed the payment, you clearly pick up. In 10 days time, who's defaulting, correct? So, and you pick that up, you're able to, get this. Sorry, I'm just straying away from the question you asked, but, just to key thing is to go through, be it cooperatives, be it societies, or the private companies, or to scout for large farms in and around the city. So, short answer to your question is that.
Thanks, Ramon. No, that was also very important point, that it's one of the industries where you can entrap cash, and you have very good visibility on the cash flows. And in case of default, you can get warning signals very soon, unlike crop loans, where you don't even know for 4 months what's going to happen. So that way, clearly much more amenable to credit than probably other sectors of the agricultural economy. So that's a very valid point. So I'll probably go back to Prabha. Yeah.
So just sorry, just sorry to interrupt. Just one more thing I'll add on that is that, see, if you talk to any of the private companies, we also have a small loan book, very tiny loan book, because that's not our primary business. The default rates are next to nothing.
That's great.
So, and you can talk to our competitors, everyone, etc. Where obviously there is some diligence in giving, obviously, because you don't, and obviously it's a very tiny amount now. Once we expand, it might be, but at least in the last 3-4 years, our defaults have been nothing. It'll be single digit, 1 or 2 farmers here and there, and for genuine purposes, right? They also had some issues and they couldn't, do that. So even milk aggregators, we generally give to milk aggregators, even there the default is fairly low. So I think there is, the understanding of the risk has to evolve much faster, and I think a lot of data analytics can help us get there quickly.
Thanks, Ramon. That's a great news, I think, with whatever number of farmers you worked with, and the default rates are very, very low. That's definitely positive news. Prabhakaran, I think this the idea which Pramod shared in terms of, instead of reaching out to the farmers, let's go to the companies who work with dairy farmers. So be it Creamline, be it Lactalis, be it Dodla. I'm sure in private sector alone, you can easily find maybe 20-30 companies. And of course, then there's a whole set of cooperatives. Have you tried this strategy? Does it work? How open are dairy companies for such kind of arrangement. Where, of course, I'm sure they won't take a credit risk, but at least letting you know who are the good farmers to lend to and helping you recover that loan, because they are the ones who are going to collect the milk.
Yeah. So today the lending happens in three phases, three stages, I can say. One is directly reaching out to a farmer, like maybe without any channels. That is a slightly high risk model, because there I don't have a cash flow trapping available with the companies like whatever Pramod was saying. Second one is going through companies like Creamline or other private dairy companies or cooperatives, where I can at least get a cash flow trapping once in 10 days. So that is much better model. And third one is also working with other fintech players who aggregate this data, and they work with some village level aggregator or agents, who's a large agent or an aggregator in a village. So they work with this aggregator, and they get into the farmer, collect some bit of data from the milk pouring, which is they happening through a aggregator channel. And they also do some other data collections on an ongoing basis once in certain periodic intervals, because they don't only do this cattle loan, they do other activities for the same farmer. They might be doing a crop loan, or they might be selling a crop insurance, or they'll be giving other agronomy practices. So they would be reaching out to these customers at a regular intervals. They also know what exactly happens. So our experience is in the route, the first method, there are a lot of delinquencies when the farmer diverts from one dairy company to other dairy company, or one aggregator to other channel. So getting a cash flow trapping is become difficult. And if it intentionally done, it is like a complete default. Second case is this channel through channel private companies. Say, I think as Pramod rightly pointed out, that the default rate is less because we get a cash flow trapping, since the dairy companies are not taking risk. But after some time, what happens, the farmer's mentality also, like when it's like any other crop loan, if there is any waiver comes or election comes, immediately they will think, boss, will I get this also will cover under, because it's a pure suspicions in the farmer mind, thinking that will I also get this benefit. So they might not pay, or sometime if they shift it to a other player, in that case my credit risk becomes this thing. But that's very minimal. Definitely there is a big scope available in this model. So we are also working in the third model with a small fintech company which is working with us for last 1 year. So we have started with a small program of 5 crore rupees in Rajasthan and Gujarat. And I think this is going extremely well. Even in the COVID period, they're able to manage our collections tool. While we don't have a direct cash flow trapping from the dairy company, but these fintech could arrange through a digital payment method. So this thing is going extremely well. Definitely, as a lending institutions, we would like to, I think, as Pramod pointed out, this is like we give 18 months kind of loan max, not beyond this for this dairy. I think Shivrani ma'am said that we can give a KCC because it's available. But the problem is, once KCC is given, it is taken for granted. Like it's like once in a year churn happens, but after that, this becomes a perpetual credit. But I think as a banker, I always prefer, if a cattle is purchased, which is getting amortized in 1 year, so that next year he can go for additional cattle. Otherwise, this 1.5 lakhs keep, say there may be some other additional benefit will be there as a farmer. So he doesn't have to come every time for an insurance tagging. But I don't have a control of what exactly farmer is doing. Is he using for cattle or is he using for some other purpose? So in that angle, I don't prefer as a banker KCC, but there is a window available. If there is a crop loan along with an additional KCC can be given, it can be given. It's not that there is no rule book we cannot give. So I think this is our experience in this cattle industry.
Thanks, Prabhakaran. And in this fintech partnership, do you get these digital payments directly?
Yeah, we get a digital pay. They aggregate and we get a digital payment in one console payment for. And then they will give an Excel sheet subsequently saying that these are all the farmer loans, and so basis that we appropriate.
Oh, okay, that's great. Thanks, Prabhakaran. I think I'll go to Venkatesh with a similar question. In terms of partnerships, clearly dairy companies, cooperatives, aggregators, and fintech companies, I think these are 3 or 4 models which are coming out. Do you have any experience in these models, or there's any alternate model that we don't know of?
I mean, with aspect to our lending, we work closely with the milk collection centers, irrespective of any dairy or anything. Though we do have partnerships with a single dairy in one of the states, but in most of the places where we work, we actually reach out to the customers. We frequently meet the customers. Unlike what Mr. Prabhakaran was saying, they're not able to.
We can't hear you, Venkatesh. Yeah, go ahead. No, it's okay. Yeah, it's come back.
Yeah, sorry, I was just getting. In terms of, we are in regular touch with the customers on a thing. We do have something called the platform meeting. Whenever we organize meetings during the milk collection time, and we are able to meet the customers on a regular basis. And we also have these since we have a 3-month window where we do the LUC and the tagging of the customer is also been done. Our monitoring of the loan has been much more we just worked on our microfinance model, and we have enhanced it so that the dairy customers, the marginal customers, can benefit out of it. So this has proved a little more successful in our model, actually.
Okay, that's interesting. Thanks, Venkatesh. With that, I'll go to Manish and Gopinath. Again, my question is on partnerships. Again, as you said, that the penetration is not even 3-4%. One is, of course, the lonely farmer, which is straightforward. You go to the bank and do the insurance. But what about, let's say, collection centers, which Venkatesh mentioned? What about milk aggregators? What about dairy companies? Can they be a go-to market for you, at least to reduce the cost of onboarding? Manish, maybe you can go first.
Yeah, so we have explored partnerships, and we are talking to and doing pilots with some ag tech startups. See, the thing is, what is the value add? It's not just the last mile. It is how much can we rely on their enrollment? For instance, it could be a dairy, right? What is the level of due diligence or data that they're collecting when they enroll a particular animal? How much of tracking are they doing at a farmer level of what is the amount of milk that he pours? I think there is huge amount of data that we can leverage. I believe that if we don't work as an ecosystem between the dairy, the dairies, cooperatives, the financiers and insurers, I think that's what's going to increase penetration, because your rates, it's a vicious cycle. As long as penetration is low and your enrollment costs are high, your rates will be high. You need to get down the enrollment cost by digital onboarding, which can be done either through technologies like muzzle technology, or where you rely on the due diligence that dairy is doing at the time of onboarding or registering of the animal. So that reduces that. Second thing is you reduce the friction cost. As Sivrani ma'am was saying, that 4% is very high. Can it be defrayed by the bank stepping in and funding that, right? And a lot of these loans would be 12 to 18 months, 36 months also is what we've seen. And defraying that over that period of time will make it very easy, similar to what Pramod was saying. It may add 50, 100 rupees to the EMI if the insurance gets funded. So yes, there is a lot of scope for partnership. There is a lot of value each of us bring in terms of the quality of data, the quality. But I think the important thing is the trust, and creating that ecosystem is what is important. That with the twin objective of reducing the cost of onboarding and increasing the penetration. As long as your penetration is 3-4%, your rates are not going to come substantially lower. Any rates which are at 2%, 2.5% are artificially low. They're either bleeding, or those cases are where claims are just not being honored properly. The sustainable model has to be a partnership model between all the stakeholders.
Thanks, Manish. Gopinath, would love to have your views also. And also, I think there are some other ecosystem players, for example, Paravets and cattle feed companies, for example. There are a lot of groups like Baya who do artificial insemination. Then there's a large number of cattle traders. Do you see that those could also be the channels for improving access to insurance for cattle farmers?
Yeah, I agree with Manish. We have a lot of cooperatives, milk unions. Okay, so most of our business comes not on credit based; it comes mainly from milk unions. Now the problem there is, they are resistant. There is huge amount of resistance to change. I mean, any technology which you want to bring in, there is a big bureaucracy which has a problem with that. Like for example, even with we want to try out muzzle and all those things. But in these areas, it is the paravets who do, like the milk unions have paravets. They do the tagging. So to that extent, our costs are reduced, and to that extent, we do give discounts. And like for example, one milk union, we have more than 2.5 lakh cattle insured with us. Okay, so there are but then the rates are very challenging, and making it viable is again a big challenge, because one bad year and then the mortality rates are still very high, and it's very difficult to bring down the rates. So, but as you said, paravets we are using substantially. Like most of our tagging is done by paravets, and we are now trying to use them for taking the muzzle images also. So we have been offering them some incentives. We say that you go there and take it. So we are in the top, and if we are able to bring that in, and the best medical management, or like Surabhi score or whatever. But the biggest challenge we face is in these big unions. They are resistant to change. I mean, there is no they still go by the same old. So that's a challenge. Yes.
Yeah, that's the mindset shift and behavioral shifts. I think those are also critical. A lot of data brings transparency, which some of the unions may not like, right? So I think those are the practical challenges. I totally agree with you. I think I'll go to Sivarani one more time. Sivarani, you heard the challenges which Prabhakaran is facing, Venkatesh is facing, as in the challenges in lending and also challenges on insurance from you heard from Manish and Gopinath. Do you have any suggestions, 2 or 3 suggestions, how it can be solved? Give us a farmer perspective, how they look at it, and if you have to bring down the cost of, let's say, insurance, or if you have to make loans available to farmers, what are the 2 or 3 things which need to be done? And are farmers ready for it?
Sir, nowadays, whole India, they are talking about a farmer producer company. Each and every block, they are covering all the farmers, and there are n number of agencies they are working for forming the farmer producer company. Each farmer producer company, they are having different type of groups. So farmer interest group. Definitely, they are each and every farmer they will know, and farmer producer company also director and staff they are there. So if you go through closely, work with the farmer producer company, then these sort of problem will be definitely reduced. Then second one is Gopinath sir told the tag and all. We can move from tag to other digitalized manner for covering the insurance. Because getting doctor's certificate is very difficult at the time of death also. We have to pay some of the amount. So farmers, immediately they are not at all able to give the money like that. They are facing the problem in some areas. So the second one. And third one is, as Prabhakaran sir told, term loan only, many bankers, they are like Gopinath sir told, union people, we could not be able to break the mindset of the union people. Like that, bankers also not having the, only having same set of, I think, I may be wrong, but I am working for last 20 years with the bankers. So I may have some experience about the cash credit also. Because cash credit, we are having lot of experience for last 7 years. I am doing with nearly 400 crores with Indian Bank and Tamil Nadu Gramina Bank. So positive and negative will be there. So timely credit and making the farmer producer organization close with all the institutions will give the definitely give the a better result. This is based on my experience. So we can go for that way.
That's good. That's good, and you're right. It's it's a mindset shift, and of course, the bankers on the call are definitely progressive bankers, and they're trying these new models. So I'm sure once adoption increases, I'm sure the bankers that you deal with will also change. Clearly, I think one thing which is coming out in this panel, the need for partnerships, collaborations. I think that needs to go in hand with digital tools. Digital tools on its own can't succeed without having this framework in place. So I think that it's been a great discussion. I think we are toward the end of the panel discussion, and I would like to bring in Samir, who's been patiently listening to a conversation, to get some closing remarks from him, and also if you can also do vote of thanks, Samir. Over to you.
Just before Samir taking up, I'll just take one thing. I think
Sure.
Manish had raised one point about insurance can be funded. I think we are doing this. We are clubbing the insurance amount also as a part of our funding amount.
Great. Thanks.
Thank you, Hemendra, for giving me the opportunity to thank the panel. So firstly, I'd like to thank you, Hemendra, and ThinkAg for pulling an excellent panel together. I joined about 5 minutes late, but I've listened to most of the panel. And I think the conversations have been really deep, really practical, and most of all, very progressive. So I'm very inspired by sort of the thinking, the approaches, the suggestions, the recommendations, and the willingness from multiple stakeholders to put their heads together and figure out solutions that can move this industry forward. So just my own experience, having looked at sort of the rural economy over the years, has been that this activity for most rural households, I would say every 1 in 3 or 1 in 2 rural households, this activity touches their lives. It is either a primary activity for some, or it is a secondary activity. And the fact that it is a very attractive activity because it generates immediate cash flow every 10 days, there is a payment, as most of you have observed and experienced. This is a very attractive opportunity. The demand side is also very supportive. So there are good tailwinds that are supporting this kind of an activity. So I think it is incumbent on people like us to really think through effective, practical, holistic solutions and apply a systems thinking to this problem, solving to this problem, and bring these solutions to the farmer, which is what we have experienced in this conversation. So I really want to thank all the lenders on this in this panel. So Prabhakaran, Pramod, Venkatesh, I think fantastic perspectives. The two insurers as well, Manish, Gopinath, and finally, Ma'am Shivrani, who's been on the field to sort of observe and share her real practical challenges, and not just challenges. What was great to me was in the final question, which was some real solutions that can be taken forward. So I do think that there is, despite all the challenges we have talked about, and real challenges, none of these were sort of complaint type challenges. This was all genuine challenges that we all face as practitioners. But I do take away a lot of hope that there are solutions that are being experimented with, piloted, and some new sort of fintech opportunities that are emerging on the landscape. So all put together, I think this certainly the next 12-18 months seems like important an important time for this industry to really move forward. What we have seen in the traditional ag fintech space over the last 4 or 5 years, I think that in the sort of the dairy tech should see that kind of trend shifting development over the next 12 to 18 months. So with that, once again, thank the whole panel. Thank all the the viewers, the attendees who have very patiently listened through this conversation and sort of participated in understanding what's going on. And with that, would like to hand it back to ThinkAg if there are any final comments, but I really appreciate this panel discussion.
Thanks, Amit. I think you summed it very well. And yeah, I think we need to work hard to make dairy tech a little bit more omnipresent. Of course, agri-tech is taken off and it's moving on its own. But I think dairy tech needs a lot of push. We still have very limited number of startups. If you compare with agri-tech, probably agri-tech is 90% of the tech that you see in rural economy. But what about dairy tech and livestock tech in general? I think that needs a big push. And I think a fintech application and an insurtech application could definitely take it to that stage. I think these are very integral parts of a dairy tech solution. So we at ThinkAg are committed to build dairy tech momentum in the country. I think all the stakeholders on the panel have a role to play, and we look forward to interesting partnerships. We are happy to introduce some good dairy tech startup that we know of who can potentially be partners with people on the panel. I think there could be some opportunities for them to look at them. And with that note, we thank our partners for the day, the Dwara Group. I think they've been very, very supportive in this whole agri-fintech series. And we look forward to do more of it because there is some very, very interesting conversation. And I'm sure if we keep the conversations going, we will have the solutions, right? So I think with that hope, I'll conclude here. And I thank all the panelists. It's been a great, great discussion. And thanks to all the attendees for their patient listening. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for all the panel members.
Thank you.